It is wonderful to be here. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, which includes the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprising the Siksina, Piikani, and Kainai First Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. Le premier prix que sera remis ce matin est le prix Alice Wilson. The Alice Wilson Award was established by the RSC in 1991 to honor the memory of Alice Evelyn Wilson, FRIC, the first woman elected to the RSC. Paléontologue de renommée internationale, she was one of Canada's foremost geologists. The award is given to 3 women of outstanding academic qualifications in the arts and humanities, social sciences, or science, entering a career in scholarship or research at the postdoctoral level. The first winner of the Alice Wilson Award this year is Dr. Michelle Lonergan from the School of Psychology at the University of Ottawa. Michelle Lonergan poursuit sa formation postdoctorale au sein du laboratoire de recherche sur le groupe de l'école de psychologie à l'Université d'Ottawa. Using the lens of attachment theory, her research focuses on the potentially traumatic effects of romance betrayals in couple relationships on individual mental health and couple well-being. Michelle Lonergan.
I do have to say, though, I am incredibly honored to be one of 3 women to receive this year's Alice Wilson Award from the Royal Society of Canada. It's really a true privilege to be part of such a distinguished group of scholars that I've met today, actually, and are quite fun. In all honesty, it's been pretty hard for me to find the words that express the extent of the gratitude and the pride that I feel to have just been considered for this award, let alone to have received it. I need to thank the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada, as well as the members of the RSC committee for selecting me and recognizing my work. And this achievement would not have been possible without my inspiring and remarkable mentors. Specifically my postdoctoral supervisor, Dr. Marie-France Lafontaine, and my PhD advisor, Dr. Alain Brunet, whose unending support has really allowed me to flourish personally, professionally, and academically, and develop my research on the psychosocial determinants of adjustment to trauma and betrayals in our romantic relationships. I'm also extremely grateful to the School of Psychology and my colleagues in Dr. Lafontaine's couples research lab at the University of Ottawa, who have been really integral in helping me advance my postgraduate work and achieve my goals. Other colleagues that I need to thank include the team in Dr. Brunet's psychological trauma lab at McGill University. I need to say a special thank you to my friends and family. I'm especially grateful to my parents and to my boyfriend, Alex, for their unwavering love and support throughout my career. And finally, to 2 of my very best friends, Christine and Lisa, and my sister Sandra, who are here with me today, probably feeling a bit of my embarrassment. A simple thank you is really insufficient. You guys are my safe place, and I am beyond grateful to be surrounded by such amazing and powerful female friends in my corner. Thank you again to the RSC, and congratulations to everyone who is an award winner today.
The second winner of the Alice Wilson Award is Dr. Chelsea Matisse from the Department of Neuroscience at the University of Lethbridge. She completed her PhD in gastrointestinal sciences at the University of Calgary. Elle est actuellement chercheuse postdoctorale au sein du Canadian Centre for Behavioral Neurosciences at the University of Lethbridge. She researches how chronic gut inflammation promotes changes in brain structure, function, and behavior, and the remedial potential of vitamin D, cannabinoids, or psilocybin. Chelsea Matisse.
Good morning and bon matin. Science is collaboration. We collaborate across space between labs and institutions, cities and countries. It's also a collaboration across time as we build upon each other's progress, moving our collective knowledge further. And Alice Wilson is in some sense my collaborator. I've never read her books or cited her research, but as another woman in science, we collaborate to not only be accepted in our respective fields, but to be recognized as vital and necessary to our fields. I've been told implicitly, and sometimes more explicitly, that as a woman and a mother, I don't belong here in science, sometimes most frequently by myself. And every woman in science has stories that she can share about her experience. And I have some that are too vulgar for an awards ceremony, but I will share one. A PhD is not the time to start a family. This is what I was told by a person whose lab I was interested in joining as a potential PhD student. And he told me this directly after telling me a PhD would take about 4 to 6 years of my life. And this was in the field of biology. I did not go ahead and join that lab, but I will contrast that with my experience during my PhD, where I had an incredibly supportive 2 supervisors. So my master's supervisors, PhD supervisor, postdoctoral supervisor, they've all been men, and they've all been incredible allies for women in science. So thank you to my mentors. Thank you to the Royal Society of Canada for this award. This award tells me that not only do I belong here, but I am needed here. Ce prix me dit que non seulement je mérite d'être ici, mais j'ai besoin de moi ici. And one more quick thank you to my parents, my family, my husband, and my 2 favorite science experiments, Riot and Miles. Thank you.
The third and final winner of the Alice Wilson Award is Dr. Yumu Zhao from Toronto General Hospital Research Institute at University Health Network. Dr. Yumu Zhao received her PhD degree from the University of Toronto. Elle a suivi une formation postdoctorale à la Columbia University et poursuit ses recherches au sein du University Health Network de Toronto. Her research focuses on developing heart on a chip that facilitates the co-culture of cardiac muscle, the incorporation of built-in biosensors for functional readouts, and advanced maturation via electrical conditioning. Yumu Zhao.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Royal Society of Canada, as it has been my greatest honor to be here receiving this award. And I also hope to thank the Canadian Institute of Health Research for nominating me and provide me the postdoctoral fellowship to fund my research. I will be extremely grateful to my supervisors, Dr. Slava Appelman and Dr. Melissa Radisik from University of Toronto and the University Health Network. as well as Dr. Gordana Vondrack-Novakovic from the Columbia University for their unconditionally invaluable mentorship and the guidance. And as a mother of 3, I actually had 2 kids during my PhD, and the only reason that I can do this is because I have a tremendous support around me, including my home institution, my supervisors, my colleagues, my friends, and my family. I'm extremely grateful for them. My postdoctoral research focuses on to design heart-on-a-chip platforms and recapitulating the human biology outside of the human body. Part of this work has been commercialized and actually used to help develop the new innovative therapeutic interventions against the heart diseases, which is the #1 killer of the world right now. It also helps improve the efficacy and the safety of the new drugs during the developmental pipeline. It has always been my passion to translate the science and technology that developed in the lab to the real-world applications. And I believe this work can pave the way to improve the Canadian public health, as well as facilitate the research of the personalized medicine. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Dr. Lonergan, Dr. Matisse, and Dr. Zhao. The Bancroft Award was created in 1968 for instruction and research in the science of geology. Ce prix récompense l'enseignement et la recherche en sciences géologiques en l'honneur de Joseph Austin Bancroft, MRSC. The award is given for publication, instruction, and research in the earth sciences that have conspicuously contributed to public understanding and appreciation of the subject. The winner of the 2022 Bancroft Award is Dr. Sandra Barr of the Department of Earth and Environmental Science at Acadia University.
My sincere greetings to members of the Royal Society of Canada and guests. I am Sandra Marie Barr, born many decades ago in the small town of St. Stephen, New Brunswick, Canada. I'm a professor of geology in the Department of Earth and Environmental Science at Acadia University, located in another small town, Wolfville, Nova Scotia. I'm truly honored to receive the John Austin Bancroft Award of the Royal Society of Canada. I feel especially honored because the first recipient of the award in 1968 was J. Tusa Wilson, who had a strong influence on the direction of my career and my research. It was hearing Tusa Wilson speak about the new paradigm of plate tectonics to a packed auditorium that set my lifelong career path in the field of tectonics. To understand the present and future Earth, we must understand its past. Of course, I'm the recipient of this award not because of myself, but because of many other people to whom I owe sincere thanks. I especially acknowledge and thank my current and former students. Because of them, I have never lost my enthusiasm for field excursions to anywhere. I also thank my colleagues, both present and past, at Acadia University, in the Atlantic Geoscience Society, and in the broader geoscience community. Collectively, they have enriched my work and my life. I'm grateful to my family for always supporting me in my work-centric lifestyle, and to Acadia University for nominating me for this award. Thank you all.
I'd like to add that La docteure Sandra Mba est la géoscientifique plus éminente au Canada Atlantique. Throughout her career, she has unraveled the tectonic history of the Canadian Appalachians, mapped the geology of nearly half of the Maritimes, and taught over 4,000 students the fundamentals of geoscience. Her worldwide collaborations have pioneered the use of tools ranging from field study to geophysics and paleontology. Congratulations again, Dr. Barr. La médaille Flavel a été établie pour Sir Joseph Wesley Flavel, financier et homme d'affaires, en 1924. The medal is awarded for an outstanding contribution to biological science during the preceding 10 years or for significant additions to a previous outstanding contribution to biological science. This year's recipient of the Flavel Medal is Professor Graham Bell of the Biology Department at Redpath Museum at McGill University. Graham Bell is an evolutionary biologist with three main interests: understanding the mechanism of natural selection, interpreting the main features of life cycles, and explaining the maintenance of biodiversity. Son laboratoire a étudié des questions majeures sur les mécanismes d'adaptation et s'est récemment tourné vers des études des conséquences évolutives de changement global. Graham Bell.
Thank you. And as our secretary has said, my name is Graham Bell. I'm at McGill University. I've been there since approximately the late Stone Age. And I'm an evolutionary biologist. I study evolution. But I'm not the sort of evolutionary biologist that you might immediately think of. I don't dig up dinosaurs or anything like that. Instead, I study evolution in real time. I study evolution in the laboratory. And you might wonder how that's possible because, as everyone knows, evolution is a very slow process that produces results only after geological stretches of time. Well, everyone is wrong, and it turns out that you can indeed study evolution in the lab, provided that you know the trick. And the trick is to use microbes, to use bacteria or yeast or single-celled algae, anything that has an extremely large population size and turns over very rapidly, so its generation time is a matter of hours or a few days. If you do that, then you have populations which are enormous in size, which contain a large amount of variability, and which will turn over within a day or two. And then you have evolution occurring in real time. So I've used that to study the mechanism of evolution, to carry out experiments where we can be quite sure what has been happening. And that has produced some very surprising results. It was not appreciated before we started doing this sort of thing, that you could change the fundamental properties of species quite rapidly through applying the appropriate selection. So that, for example, one of the organisms I work on is a single-celled green alga. It normally grows in the light by photosynthesis like green plants, but we can evolve it so as to grow in the dark. And that can happen. You can get dark specialists evolving within a few hundred generations. Or it grows in fresh water. You can have it grow in seawater within the same span of time. So the fundamental properties of organisms can be changed rapidly by natural selection. And more recently, I've applied those principles to what is perhaps a more timely sort of situation, and that is through studying the process of evolutionary rescue. To imagine what happens when a population meets a stress that is pretty well lethal, so that the population starts to decline in abundance and will eventually become extinct. There'll be no more of those particular sorts of organism around anymore, unless there arises a resistant variant fairly early in the process, and that sweeps through the population and restores the initial abundance of the species. So is it feasible to suggest that evolutionary rescue can play an important part in the resistance to stress imposed by human activities? So that's been a live topic in my branch of evolutionary biology over the last 7 or 8 years. So in these and other ways, what I've tried to do is make evolution into normal science, normal experimental science, by transferring it to the laboratory. And of course, I've been aided in that by consistent support from the Canadian granting agencies, particularly NSERC, who have supported me throughout my career. And as Sandra Barr just said, everything that I've done relies heavily on grad students and undergraduate students working in the lab, and it is they who have produced the majority of the results. And finally, like everyone else, I have to acknowledge the support which has always been given to me by my family, part of whom my wife and youngest son are present in the audience, and I'll meet them afterwards to renew my thanks. Thank you all for coming here today.
Congratulations, Professor Bell. En 1966, le SRC a créé la médaille Innes Gérin pour honorer l'historien de l'économie Harold A. Innes et le sociologue Léon Gérin. The medal is awarded for its distinguished and sustained contribution to the literature of the social sciences, including human geography and social psychology. La gagnante de la médaille Innes Gérin 2022 est la docteure Jane Jensen du département de sciences politiques de l'Université de Montréal. She is a prolific scholar in political science, sociology, and political economy whose work influences fields from electoral behavior and social movements to conceptualizations of citizenships and social rights. A genuine public intellectual, she regularly makes influential interventions in today's important political debates. Jane Jensen.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Linden. Chers collègues, chers invités. Évidemment, je commence avec mes remerciements à la Société royale du Canada pour cet honneur qu'elle me décerne. Quel privilège de recevoir la médaille Innes Gérin, qui porte les noms de 2 grands chercheurs dans les domaines qui sont les miens, économie politique et sociologie politique. Je voudrais également remercier les collègues, évidemment anonymes, qui ont soutenu ce dossier de candidature. En particulier, je dois reconnaître ma collègue Rianne et ma collègue et grande amie Rianne Mahon de Carleton University, qui, je l'ai appris après le fait, a monté le dossier. Je dois beaucoup à mes collègues des départements de sciences politiques de Carleton, où j'étais au début, et au département de sciences politiques de l'Université de Montréal, avec qui je travaille depuis plus que 30 ans, dans plusieurs regroupements de recherche en collaboration de près et de plus loin. Avec ces collègues, avec tous et toutes ces collègues, j'ai eu des échanges intellectuels et scientifiques énormément fructueux et je reconnais leur contribution à mes travaux. Finally, I'm most thankful to George Ross, who has collaborated with me for more than 45 years. I knew I was going to do this. He's collaborated with me for more than 45 years as a loving husband and a wonderful colleague. The research we've come and done together and published is among that of which I am most proud. He's opened for me far too many life possibilities for me to ever count. Let me end my 2 minutes by encouraging all colleagues, especially the younger ones, to remain within the open-minded tradition of Harold Innis and Léon Gérard. Whether you're social scientists, historians, or philosophers, it is essential to avoid intellectual fads which only become straitjackets. And it is essential to remain open to the ideas of others. In this troubled political world, we must pay attention to a wide variety of ways of knowing and of understanding the difficult economic, social, and political conditions within which we now live, if we are ever going to improve them. Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup.
Professor Jensen, thank you and congratulations. The John L. Synge Award was established in 1986 by the RSC to honor John Leighton Synge, FRS, FRSC, one of the first mathematicians working in Canada to obtain international recognition through research in mathematics. The award is given for outstanding research dans tout domaine des sciences mathématiques. The winner of the John L. Synge Award is Kevin Costello of the Perimeter Institute for Theoretical Physics. Kevin Costello is an Irish mathematical physicist who holds a Kremble Foundation chair at the Perimeter Institute for Theoretical Physics and is Fellow of the Royal Society. Il travaille sur les aspects mathématiques de la théorie quantique des champs, un paradigme théorique largement utilisé en physique. His work brings modern mathematical techniques to bear on this important topic. Kevin Costello.
Thank you very much. It's a huge honor to be given this award. Looking at the past winners, it's a roster of many great Canadian mathematicians, and I'm humbled to be counted among them. I've long been an admirer of John L. Synge. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I could be wrong. So Synge was a nephew of the famous playwright who's the author of the Playboy of the Western World. And like myself, he's Irish, an Irish mathematical physicist who later worked in Canada. And Synge was a pioneer of Einstein's theory of general relativity, and his work continues to play an important role in modern studies in cosmology. So it's great to be associated with him. So I wouldn't have done the work that led to this award without the many people, institutions who supported me, including the Perimeter Institute, the Kremble Foundation, who for many years have funded my research, NSERC, and of course, my family. So thank you very much to everybody.
Congratulations, Dr. Costello. La bourse commémorative Kitty Newman, financée en 2007 par J. Newman MRSC, is awarded to an outstanding emerging Canadian scholar in the field of philosophy. This award is given for excellence in the field, which is broadly understood to include philosophy of culture, religion, law, ethics and logic, or any other branch of philosophy deemed appropriate by the committee. This year's recipient of the Kitty Newman Memorial Award is Professor Kimberly Brownlee of the Philosophy Department at the University of British Columbia. Professor Brownlee is the leading expert in two areas of moral and political philosophy, the philosophy of social human rights and the ethics of conviction and civil disobedience. Elle incite une communauté croissante de chercheurs apportaient collégialement leur attention des problèmes précédemment négligés concernant la sociabilité, les droits et l'appartenance. Kimberly Brownlee.
Good morning. Bonjour tout le monde. I would like to thank the Royal Society for honoring me with this award. Dr. Newman, his colleagues at the University of Guelph have told me that he was an only child and his mother, Kitty, was devoted to him and he loved her dearly. And this may well have informed some of his work on the family and the relation between religion and the family. The themes of love and commitment and belonging and community, they inform my own work. I have developed 2 research projects on these themes. The first has looked at those people who, in Thoreau's words, serve their community with their conscience, people who engage in principled disobedience. And I've recently returned to that theme to consider whether people engaging in civil disobedience in defense of the climate can offer a necessity defense. My other main project, looking at community and belonging, has been to consider social human rights. And I'm very grateful to the philosopher James Nichol, who kindly told me there might be a book in your idea that there's a human right against social deprivation. And he was very supportive while it took me 6 years to find out if he was right. It turned out he was. And I'm also very grateful to both my academic family and my home family for the support they've given me. The philosophy department at UBC is a wonderful place to conduct research. I'm very grateful for the CRC position I hold there and the support it gives me to do my work. And I'm even more grateful to the family at home whose love and commitment keeps me afloat. Thank you.
Congratulations, Professor Brownlee. The Lorne Pierce Medal was established in 1926 by Lorne Pierce, FRSC, who contributed greatly to the development and appreciation of Canadian literature. It is awarded for an achievement of special significance and conspicuous merit in imaginative or critical literature, écrite en anglais ou en français. This year's recipient of the Lorne Pierce Medal is Dr. Robert Lecker of the Department of English at McGill University. A pioneer in Canadian literary studies, Professor Robert Lecker is a leading international authority on the history and development of Canadian literature. Son engagement indéfectible envers les études de la littérature canadienne ont défini et élargi le domaine. Lecker's academic pursuits as scholar, editor, anthologist, and teacher have transformed our understanding of Canadian cultural identity. Robert Lecker.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be the recipient of this medal, which was established by Lorne Pierce in 1926. Pierce was an early champion of Canadian literature. He wrote essays on a wide variety of Canadian authors, researched and produced a groundbreaking history of Canadian literature, edited anthologies of Canadian poetry and fiction, and was the influential editor at Ryerson Press over a career that spanned some 40 years. Pierce provided the literary foundation for the kind of research that excited me as a young graduate student in the 1970s. At that time, there were few secondary resources available for the study of Canadian literature, and in many respects it remained an unknown territory to many Canadians, even as they celebrated the values that made Canada distinct. Like Pierce, I began to engage in editorial activities that would enable scholars to find out more about the history and evolution of our national literature. I was fortunate enough to be taught by some creative and influential teachers who convinced me that the process of studying a national literature inevitably involved studying oneself. Under the guidance of poet, critic, and professor Eli Mandel, I began to see the study and dissemination of Canadian literature as a kind of conversion experience. Once I understood the forms of insight that our national literature could provide, I began to engage in a series of projects designed to promote Canadian writing and to place its writers in the historical, social, and aesthetic contexts that set them apart. Now, more than 40 years after I first explored this literary dimension of Canadian art and experience, I inevitably think about all the students I've had the privilege to teach, students who have sharpened my awareness of Canadian writing, and who have never let me forget the importance of interrogating the relation between Canadian identity and the nation's unique literature and art. Those same students have also challenged me to consider and reconsider many of the questions that Lorne Pierce struggled with throughout his career. What makes Canadian writing different? How does it reflect the changing values of Canadian society? To what extent should it challenge prevailing values? Which literary forms are most appropriate to those kinds of challenges? Those are the questions I keep grappling with, and for some reason, they just won't let go. Thanks again to the Royal Society for this honor.
Congratulations, Dr. Lecker. The McLaughlin Medal was established in 1978 by the RSC through the generosity of the R. Samuel McLaughlin Foundation to recognize the distinguished achievement in medical sciences in Canada. The medal is awarded for important research of sustained excellence dans tout domaine des sciences médicales. The 2022 winner of the McLaughlin Medal is Professor John Dick from the Princess Margaret Cancer Centre and Department of Molecular Genetics, University of Toronto. Les découvertes de Professeur John Dick ont révolutionné notre compréhension des cellules souches à l'origine du développement du sang humain normal. He developed a stem cell assay where new classes of stem cells were discovered that redefined the roadmap of human blood production and identified the leukemia stem cells that lead to treatment failure. Thank you so much, and congratulations, Professor John Dick.
Dear President McNeil, Academy President Small, and colleagues, I'm really sorry that I'm not going to be able to be with you in person today, but I'm really want to send you this message, and it's with gratitude that I accept the McLaughlin Medal. It's humbling to be recognized by your peers and to have one's name added to the list of former winners of this medal. You know, science is not done in isolation. Indeed, all of our work in the biology of normal and leukemia stem cells was guided by the principles set out by the famous studies of Till and McCullough and Siminovich, who in the 1960s established the modern era of stem cell research. And truly, I count it as a privilege and an honor to be in their second generation of their lineage. Their insight, and more importantly, their approach to scientific inquiry continued to guide us. In the early part of my career, I had the good fortune to be guided and mentored by two remarkable scientists, Bob Phillips and Alan Bernstein, who showed by their example and guidance and advice and support can be given without freely asking for anything in return. For my entire professional life, I've been surrounded by wonderful colleagues in the Department of Molecular Genetics at the University of Toronto and for the last 20 years at the Princess Margaret Cancer Centre, who collectively have set the highest standards for scientific thought that continuously challenged us to resist sloppy thinking and to resist taking the easy way out of a problem, but rather to tackle biological challenges with rigor and clear thinking. You know, by their nature, prizes look backwards at what you did. But because they focus on me and put me on some kind of a pedestal, they truly make me feel awkward, because I know that this award is truly due to the tremendous trainees that I've had over these last 35 years, not just for their experimental work, but for the deep conceptual thinking that they have provided. Really, I see our lab as a crucible where everyone pours in their ideas, good, bad, and ugly. No single person has perfect insight or a solution to a problem, but rather out of this crucible of ideas that we all contribute to rises the phoenix that becomes the ultimate advance, and all have contributed to its emergence. There have now been, several generations of trainees who have built a deep understanding of what makes a stem cell and how does it go bad in leukemia. And really, I accept and dedicate this medal for all of them. And last, but certainly not least, I want to recognize my family, Jonathan and his partner Becky, Christy and her partner Delmar, and the 4 wonderful grandchildren they've given us, Cameron, Grayson, Karis, and Beckett. But I especially want to recognize my wife, Lorna, who I would not be standing on this stage without you and without my whole family. You're my strength, you keep me grounded, and you've given so much to enable me to pursue this passion. So thank you, colleagues, for this recognition, and have a great rest of the meeting. Thank you.
The RSC is proud to present its most recent medal. Thanks to the support of the Canadian National Committee for the International Union of Theoretical and Applied Mechanics, it has established the Michael P. Paidousis Medal in Applied Mathematics in recognition of Professor Michael P. Paidousis. Cette médaille reconnaît les contributions individuelles exceptionnelles à la recherche, l'éducation et le leadership en mécanique. The winner of the inaugural Michael P. Paidousis Medal is Professor Huajian Gao from the School of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering, College of Engineering, Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. Professor Gao is celebrated for his pioneering contributions in nanomechanics of engineering and biological systems, a new research field that he helped create during the past 2 decades. Il est également reconnu pour ses contributions exceptionnelles à la formation de nouvelles générations de mécaniciens et pour son leadership au sein de la communauté internationale. Professor Huajian Gao.
Hello, my name is Huajian Gao. I'm from Nanyang Technological University in Singapore. I'm here to express my sincere thanks and gratitude to the Royal Society of Canada for awarding me the inaugural Michael P. Paidousis Medal. First, I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone involved in the nomination process and the Paidousis Medal Committee for selecting me for this prestigious honor. Professor Paidousis from McGill University is a world expert in vibration and fluid structure interactions. He has made many major contributions to the field of applied mechanics. He has mentored and taught generations of students in Canada. He's one of the great role models for me. It is my truly, truly great honor to receive this award in his name. I would like to also take this opportunity to thank many colleagues whose friendship and support is very important for me over the years. Thanks also to all of my students, PhD students, postdocs, and collaborators whose work with me is being recognized here. Also, I would like to thank my family, my wife and son, whose love and support kept me going all these years. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Professor Gao. La médaille Miroslav Romanowski a été créée en 1994 grâce à Miroslav Romanowski, métrologue de renommée internationale. This medal is awarded for significant contributions to the resolution of scientific aspects of environmental problems or for important improvements to the quality of an ecosystem brought about by scientific means. An annual lecture series for the award recipient is also associated to the medal. The 2022 winner of the Miroslav Romanowski Medal is Professor Rashid Sumaila from the Institute for Oceans and Fisheries and the School of Public Policy and Global Affairs, University of British Columbia. Rachid Sumaila est l'un des économistes de la pêche et des océans les plus reconnus sur le plan international et l'un des chercheurs les plus innovants au monde dans le domaine de l'avenir des océans. His work has challenged today's approaches to marine governance, generating exciting new ways of thinking about our relationship to the marine biosphere. Rachid Sumaila.
So thank you very much. I cannot see you guys sitting, the lighting, but I know you are there. Thank you for making time. It goes without saying that this is a big honor, and I'm grateful for it. I thank the Royal Society for making that possible, all right? Now, let's talk about the ocean. 70% of the world, you know, of the Earth's surface, right? I describe myself as an interdisciplinary oceans and fisheries economist, okay? And why do I do that? To give you a picture of what I do, me and my colleagues, whom I thank very much, I'll get to that. Just think about our relationship with the ocean and nature in general. We, the people, when we go to the ocean, we do just two things when you boil it down to the basics. We take the things we need, the things we want, the things we desire from the ocean, from nature, into our economy, into our culture, into our social systems. We do what we do with them. And then what we produce at the end, waste. And where do they go? They go to the ocean, they go to nature. So from the ocean, good things come. To the ocean, bad things go. And my work, those of my colleagues, is to help us to make sure that we don't overtake and we don't overpollute, right? Because if we do that, if we do a lot of that, as we are doing now, we may end up with a dead ocean. Nobody in this room wants a dead ocean without life, right? So this is what I do. Now, to be able to do this, you need all the minds you can get. This is an interdisciplinary project. I tell economists, even economists cannot solve this problem alone. You need everybody. You need natural scientists, you need social scientists, you need humanities people, you need indigenous people, you need the people of the world. The ocean is a global system, right? And so these are the things that drive me: interdisciplinarity, co-creation of knowledge, partnership, you know. And Chaque, I have to mention Chaque. Chaque has these partnership grants that have supported our work in a big way, and we are grateful for that. So that gives you an idea. And if you really want to get a little bit more than I can say here, check out my new book, which I published last year, 2021. The title alone is enough for you to make you happy, right? Inspirational. The title is Infinity Fish. Infinity Fish. How do we make our fisheries continue to supply all this amazing benefit from food to other things, not only for us, but also for future generation? That's Infinity Fish, just to give you. And now I get to the thank yous, because there's not a lot of time. I mean, there's so many people to thank, I cannot list them all. Because somebody has actually described me as the person whose workplace is the whole world. My work is global. I work with colleagues from all over the world. I've not been to Antarctica yet, but I have a plan. So I've been to all continents. I work with everyone. So I thank you all, mentors and mentees from all over the world. I thank UBC, of course, for giving me the platform to do what I do, right? It's not easy. And after thanking UBC, I thank all of you here and everybody in the world who is working to create space for indigenous people, for black people, for people of color, for women. for all disadvantaged people to bring their brains to bear on the global problems, because we need all the brains around to be able to solve our problems, not only the ocean, all the big problems we face here. Finally, I thank, of course, my family. Mariam is wonderful, my wife. My two kids, Husky and Aliyu, they are now young men, and they are also chatting their way. Finally, I want to leave you with a few words from my grandfather, who, without knowing, actually instilled in me the care for nature and the care for people. We used to play soccer. The World Cup is going on. Canada actually did well. It's just a little miss. We could have beaten the team there. So we are playing soccer as a West African, Nigerian, and Ghana connections. We love soccer. We're jumping around, and my grandfather will say, hey, guys, just because you can jump around, hit the walls and the ground, doesn't mean you should do it. You should walk on earth as if it feels pain. Just think about that. Later, I realized this is advanced environmentalism. And if you can walk on earth as if it feels pain, you have the key to solve all of our problems. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Congratulations, Professor Samaila. The Rutherford Memorial Medals were established in 1980 by the RSC in memory of Lord Rutherford of Nelson. The medals are awarded for outstanding research during the formative stages of a career en tout domaine de la physique et de la chimie. The winner of the Rutherford Memorial Medal in Physics is Professor Darrell Haggard from the Department of Physics and McGill Space Institute, McGill University. Darrell Haggard is a world expert in observations of black holes, including Sagittarius A, the supermassive black hole in the Milky Way galaxy. Elle utilise des télescopes d'élite pour sonder les environnements exotiques des trous noirs. She is also internationally known for her contributions to the joint discovery of X-ray and gravitational wave emission from the first known collision of two neutron stars. Darrell Haggard.
Bonjour tout le monde, and greetings from Grenoble, France. My name is Darrell Haggard. I am a professor of physics at McGill University and in the McGill Space Institute. I am honored and humbled to accept the Rutherford Memorial Medal from the Royal Society of Canada. Thank you for this amazing recognition from the RSC, and particularly to my nominators and colleagues, eminent letter writers, and McGill's support team, without whom this honor would not have come to pass. As academics, we stand on the shoulders of giants, and Ernest Rutherford is no exception. But as a contemporary woman scientist, my giants are my family, the postdocs and students in my research group, and my amazing collaborators. Together, we have glimpsed light as it swung by a supermassive black hole, narrowly avoiding capture at the event horizon. Rutherford won a Nobel Prize in the 20th century for early discoveries surrounding the transmutation of elements, which we now know of as nuclear reactions. The idea of nuclear reactions might send a bit of a chill down your spine right now, but know too that they are essential to the explosions that forged the elements that make up our very bodies, our Earth, and our universe. My team and I study these explosions and look in wonder as we receive photons emitted as two neutron stars smash into one another in outer space and likely give rise to a new black hole. It's pretty spectacular and very exciting. All of our research can be bent to many uses, and I challenge each of us to bend ours toward a better future. I will miss celebrating with all of you tonight, but know that I am with you in spirit and feeling the glow and privilege of being a part of this wonderful RSC community, and I am honored by this award. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Professor Haggard. The Ursula Franklin Award in Gender Studies was established by the RSC in 1999. Ce prix est attribué en reconnaissance d'une contribution importante dans le domaine des sciences sociales ou humaines à notre compréhension des questions liées au genre. The 2022 winner of the Ursula Franklin Award in Gender Studies is Professor Valerie Osterveld. The work of Professor Valerie Osterveld of the Faculty of Law, Western University, focuses on gender, and her scholarly work has made significant contributions to understanding the changes and the formation of international criminal law. Ses publications sont largement reconnues comme des ouvrages à lire absolument pour ceux qui étudient ou traduisent en justice des crimes de guerre fondés sur le genre. Her research routinely guides the deliberations of scholars and courts in Canada and around the world today. Valerie Osterveld.
There are some fields which scholars wish were not relevant, and mine is one of them. I study the documentation, investigation, and prosecution of sexual and gender-based violence as war crimes, as crimes against humanity, and as tools of genocide. This area of research is sadly particularly timely in 2022. The invasion by Russia of Ukraine has led to numerous reports of rape, sexualized torture, and other forms of sexual violence in all areas occupied by Russian and Russian-controlled forces in Ukraine. Reports which are now being investigated by the International Criminal Court, the Ukrainian Prosecutor General's Office, the United Nations, and many countries in the region and beyond, including Canada. These various actors are endeavoring to conduct their work in a coordinated, victim-centered, and trauma-informed manner. And these efforts are informed by decades of feminist work in international criminal law and elsewhere, including my own work, to distill best practices with respect to investigating gendered crimes. When I was a law student at the University of Toronto Law School and then a young lawyer on Bay Street, I had the good fortune of meeting Professor Ursula Franklin. At that time, I was learning about and advocating for women's international human rights law. And Professor Franklin was very supportive of my work and the work of all female students like me, and encouraged me onward. She herself advocated for gender equality and peace, which she viewed as deeply intertwined, which they are. She also felt that it was important for young women like me to persevere and prosper in what was, at that time, the male-dominated field of law. And her encouragement was like wind at my back. I'm therefore very honored to receive this Royal Society of Canada Award in her name, all these years later, for my gender-focused research. But of course, I couldn't do it alone. I'm part of a team. I'm part of a large collaborative team all over the world of feminist scholars who work to help protect victims of sexual and gender-based violence in war. I'm also part of a team at Western University, which has always been very supportive of my work. And I'm part of a team within my own family, with my husband, Walter, and my 3 children, Jasper, Caroline, and Anna, and my parents, including my dad here in the audience. Thank you to everyone for supporting my work.
Professor Osterveld, congratulations and thank you. The Willett G. Miller Medals were created in recognition of Willett G. Miller, FRSC, a distinguished geologist and guiding force in the development of the Ontario mining industry. Ces médailles sont attribuées pour une contribution éminente à la recherche dans tout domaine des sciences de la Terre. The winner of the Willett G. Miller Medal in Earth Sciences is Dr. Donald Dingwell from the Earth and Environmental Sciences, Ludwig-Maximilians-Universität, Munich. Donald Bruce Dingwell, FRSC, has pioneered the experimental investigation of molten systems in the earth sciences. Il est l'un des Canadiens le plus en vue dans le monde scientifique international, lauréat d'une douzaine de prix et médailles internationaux et nationaux, membre de 5 académies scientifiques et dirigeant de multiples organismes internationaux. Donald Dingwell.
Thank you very much to all of my mentors, my supporters at MUN in Newfoundland, at the University of Alberta, at the Carnegie Institution of Washington, and for a brief span of time at the University of Toronto. I also, of course, stand here to thank all of my experimental collaborators over 40 years of research. They number in the hundreds, and it is their work which is being celebrated here today. I want to thank 3 people by name: Hugh Miller, Dave Strong, and Chris Scarf, who sadly departed this life way too early. It would have been so wonderful if Chris could have driven down from Edmonton today to be here and to join us for this. And of course, I want to thank everybody who was involved in the nomination process in any way, which is, of course, the only reason that I can stand up here and take your time. This is an award, as most awards are, for work. It's not actually about me. It's about what I was lucky enough to contribute to in terms of scientific research. And I'll just give you a few keywords to use this as a bully pulpit, because I have had stints of work with the national and European governments, and that never leaves your blood if you get an opportunity to stand in front of a microphone. Sorry. First of all, I'm an experimentalist. Experimental work, richly supported in Germany, is the key to really knowing if what you have estimated, simulated, modeled, or evaluated is true. It's also the key to discovering completely unexpected results simply because you were there in the right place. In our case, the right place in time and temperature and pressure and materials. So the serendipitous result, which is a huge part of scientific advance, is almost inaccessible without experimental infrastructure to observe serendipitous results. The second point I'd like to bring in is that the work has gone between synthetic systems and the natural world. I'm a geoscientist. When I was about 20 years old, somebody said to me, physics is much more interesting if you put geo in front of it. And that's what happened. So I'd like to say that there's no hard barrier between synthetic chemistry and geochemistry. There's no hard barrier between theoretical physics and understanding our universe and our planet and our exoplanets. The continuity of going from synthetic to natural and being able to go back and forth and choosing your goals is a part of what we should enjoy as research scientists. 2 more words. It's all been international. It's been horribly or terribly or wonderfully international. Of course, my own life has been international. If I had to list a number of nationalities, it would probably also reach into the hundreds. Some of it has been controversial. Some of it was rejected for 5 years. Some of it took 10 years, a decade to be fully appreciated. I'm sure many of you are nodding when you think about that in your own careers. And the only reason that I survived all of that was a continuity of funding which was available to me in Bavaria, in Germany, and in Europe. And so I thank those 3 levels of funding for keeping me in the game for almost 40 years. And my final word on this note that I have is freedom. It's really about the freedom of research that I want to close this speech. The freedom of research is the reason a lot of people go into it. It's the reason that a lot of people stay in it. And it really gives us the strength that when we fail, or when we're heavily criticized, that we can go in the next day and be free to continue or to start with new points of departure. So defense of the freedom that you have in choosing your research goals, even within a funding cycle, is something that I'd like to draw a line under today. Ein herzliches Grüß Gott nach Bayern. It would be a big mistake, and it would be something that I would never want to achieve if I hadn't the opportunity to thank the 2 people in my life who really made me, or have really made it possible for me to put so much energy in my life into science, and they are Felix and Anke. They're both in Germany at the moment, and I say hello to both of them. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. The winner of the Willett G. Miller Medal in Ocean and Atmospheric Sciences is Professor Kimberly Strong from the Department of Physics, University of Toronto. Kimberly Strong is an internationally recognized atmospheric physicist who employs an array of techniques to probe the composition of the atmosphere. Elle a développé les nouvelles méthodologies expérimentales et établi des nouvelles capacités d'observation dans l'Arctique canadien et ailleurs. Her research has provided new insights into the physical and chemical processes that drive atmospheric change. Kimberly Strong.
Thank you. Hello, bonjour. I'm so delighted to have been selected to be the recipient of the Willett G. Miller Medal. I feel immensely fortunate to be receiving this recognition of my research in atmospheric science. I know that assembling award nominations takes time and effort. I'm deeply grateful to my nominator and those colleagues who wrote letters for their generous support. I also thank the selection committee and, of course, the Royal Society of Canada for this great honor. As you've heard, my research involves the use of spectroscopic techniques to measure atmospheric composition from ground-based observatories and also from balloons and satellites. Like Dawn, I'm an experimentalist. Measurements are really the lifeblood of the science that we do. We use these measurements to study the physical and chemical properties that drive atmospheric change. As you've heard, we study stratospheric ozone depletion, we study greenhouse gases and climate change, and we study air quality. We do this from downtown Toronto, where I have an atmospheric observatory, to the furthest reaches of the Canadian High Arctic, where we have a lab called Pearl on Ellesmere Island at 80 degrees north. We also do measurements around the world from satellites. Over the 30 or more years since I've started in this field, the importance of these topics has only grown. There are many scientific questions still to be answered related to the atmosphere that we breathe. There's much left to do to address the global environmental challenges that we all are well aware of and need to deal with as we go forward. Atmospheric science is highly collaborative, and I would not be here today without the support of many people, including peers in Canada and around the world. Our research is truly international. I would especially like to acknowledge all the wonderful members of my research group, more than 150 undergraduate students, graduate students, postdoctoral fellows, research associates, and research staff who've worked with me over the last 25 plus years at the University of Toronto. Working with students and postdocs is one of the most enjoyable and fulfilling of my various roles. It's a joy to see them develop their talents and succeed in their own diverse and accomplished careers. So the Willett Miller Medal is therefore not just for me. I consider it to be a recognition of the cumulative accomplishments of every past and current member of my research group. I would not be here today without all their work. Of course, none of my research would be possible without funding. So I thank the numerous funding agencies that have supported me over the years. I can't list them all, but I would particularly like to mention NSERC, the Canadian Space Agency, the Canada Foundation for Innovation, and Environment and Climate Change Canada. They've really been the pillars of support over the years. And of course, the University of Toronto has been a terrific home for me for just over 25 years. Finally, a very big thank you to my family for their love and support over many years. My parents, Linda and David, my husband, Richard, who's in the audience, and my daughter, Jessie, who's also here, and my daughter, Gemma. Congratulations to all my fellow award recipients today. It's been inspiring to hear about your many accomplishments. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Congratulations, Dr. Dingwa and Professor Kimberly Strong. En collaboration avec l'Institut sur la gouvernance d'organisations privées et publiques, la SRC a établi la médaille Yvan Allaire to honor the contribution of Yvan Allaire in promoting healthy governance practices in public and private organizations. The winner of the Yvan Allaire Medal stands out for the relevance and originality of their research and publications on the subject of private and public governance. The winner of the 2022 Yvan Allaire Medal is Dr. Christopher Alcantara from the Department of Political Sciences of the University of Western Ontario. Christopher Alcantara is a leader in the study of multi-level governance. Ses travaux ont permis de mieux comprendre les relations politiques complexes entre les communautés autochtones et les trois niveaux de pouvoir au Canada. His books, articles, media commentary, and advisory activities have helped shape public policy on modern treaty negotiations and government and community efforts to strengthen relationships with Indigenous communities. Christopher Alcantara.
Thanks, everybody. It's really humbling to be here with all these great scholars, to share the stage with Alain Gagnon, one of the best Canadian political scientists, to receive an award on the same day that Jane Jensen, one of the giants in my field and discipline, has won this well-deserving award. It's really humbling. I want to thank the Royal Society and the Institute on Governance for creating this award. I still sometimes, just the humble thing, I still sometimes feel like, most of the time, I still feel like a grad student, a PhD student. Not sure that it's actually me they want to give these accomplishments to. And this award, this award itself was such a surprise. It was first given to Donald Savoy, one of the giants in Canadian political science. And I remember reading his work and Alain and Jane's work as a graduate student and still today. And so it's surreal to be up here, I guess, receiving this award. A lot of this, as everyone said, you need supportive environments, and I built my careers at Wilfrid Laurier University and Western University, my current institutions, and these were just great supportive places to build my career. These were, Laurier was one of the most collegial places on the planet, and Western has been such one of the most invigorating, collaborative, and research-rich departments in the country, and I'm so lucky to be there. And one of the lessons I've learned about being a good academic and having an impact is love. It's about showing love to your colleagues, showing love to your students, and being willing to accept that love. Even those colleagues who are hard to love, you gotta find a way to show that love. It's important. And I certainly would not be here without that lesson. And so, that final lesson too is about, I also want to thank my family, who've been such a loving and supportive people as well. And I know my wife and my son, Anthony, are watching on the live stream, so hello everybody. Anyway, so just thanks again everyone for this wonderful award, for coming. Thank you.
Congratulations, Dr. Christopher Alcantara. The J.B. Terrell Historical Medal was established in 1927 and was endowed by Joseph Burr Terrell, FRSC, a geologist, geographer, explorer, engineer, and amateur historian, for the furtherance of the knowledge of the history of Canada. La médaille est donnée en reconnaissance de travaux éminents en l'histoire du Canada et est attribuée tous les 2 ans. The winner of the 2022 J.B. Terrell Historical Medal is Afua P. Cooper of Dalhousie University. Professor Afua Cooper is a senior academic trained in the history of Black people in Canada and the African diaspora. Ses recherches indubitables sur l'esclavage, l'abolition, la liberté, l'éducation des Noirs et les études sur les femmes et les jeunes ont fait d'elle l'une des figures de proue des études afro-canadiennes. A self-described intellectual activist and founder of the Black Canadian Studies Association, she has fundamentally shifted the conversation in Canada on history, race, and equity. Afua P. Cooper.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony. Thanks to you all for coming out this morning. And a big thank you to my fellow awardees. Bonjour tout le monde. It's with a great pleasure that I'm here to receive the Terrell Award. Terrell, of course, is a distinguished geologist. Lots of similarities between geology and history. And as you heard, Mr. Terrell was also a historian. So first I want to thank my nominator, Dr. Alice Aiken, and the nominating team from Dalhousie University, to all the people who wrote letters. And we often say we stand on the shoulders of others. And in my case, that is so true. I stand on the shoulders of my parents, and I want to honor them this morning. My parents, Ruth Cooper, her maiden name's Campbell, and my father, Edward Cooper, my grandmother, Georgiana Cooper, and my grandfather, Neil Alexander Campbell. I didn't know Mr. Campbell. He exited before I came on the planet. But stories about my grandfather, Neil Alexander Campbell, were legion in my family, mythic stories. And as a young child, hearing those stories, my imagination took flight. And those stories engendered in me the love for history and the love for the story. I was born and raised in rural Jamaica and in urban Jamaica. I had the opportunity to live in the city and in the country. And I grew up on history. History was always close to us. History ran in our blood. We came from a place that had a brutal history rooted in colonization and in slavery, and it was always there. And then there are these personal stories of migration and family separations. So when I came to Canada, I wanted to know more about Canadian history. I took a PhD in Canadian history at the University of Toronto, and like many of the women scholars here, I was one of those people who had children during my PhD. I had 3 young children. During my second pregnancy in the PhD program, I actually started hiding from my department because as I grew larger, because, you know, there's this kind of thought that if you're producing children while doing a PhD, you're somehow not a serious scholar. I did get the PhD because I had set my mind to it. And my work, so for the past 30 years or so, has been about filling those gaps in Canadian history. Filling those gaps with historical knowledge about Black people in Canada. It's I'm happy to be here in Calgary. Alberta was one of the places in which civil society and politicians 100 years ago got together and influenced, if you will, the Dominion government or the federal government, as we would say today, to ban Black people from migrating to Canada. We all know that story. In 1911, during the Laurier government, an order in council was passed in the Dominion Parliament that banned Black migration. And so it's these histories of exclusions and of marginalizations, these stories of slavery, the stories of the education, segregated education that I highlight in my work. And I want to thank the Killam Foundation. I'm a Killam chair at Dalhousie University for providing funding for some of the work that I do. I want to thank the Department of Canadian Heritage too for the grant that they gave me recently to be the principal investigator for a Black People's History of Canada, which I'm currently leading. I want to thank my brother, Mr. Nikoni, my brother and my friend who came to be here and is in the audience for supporting me this morning. And I'd also like to thank my three children, Akil, Lamarana, and Habiba, who were part of the PhD journey with me at the University of Toronto. They have that school so much in their blood that when my daughter Lamarana was to go to university, and I was at Dalhousie at the time, and she stayed at Dalhousie for a while, and then she said, I want to go to U of T because I remember being in the Robarts Library as a kid, and that's where I want to be. So I thank my children for all their support, and I thank the Royal Society of Canada for giving me this medal. Thank you so very much, all of you.
We thank you and congratulations, Professor Cooper. Chers invités, voilà qui termine notre cérémonie de cette année. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes this year's medal and awards ceremony. Hasn't it been extraordinary? Aren't we? Aren't we lucky to be able to celebrate the achievements and the people who have helped us and are helping us to become more knowledgeable, to become wiser, to make Canada a better place to live in, and to make the world a better place to live in. We invite you to give a round of applause in celebration of these outstanding individuals. Now, if I may, on behalf of my colleagues, I also invite you to join us back here in the Imperial Ballroom at 11 a.m. to celebrate the presentation of our new members of the College of New Scholars. We look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much.